30 minutes. I'll sit in the middle.
But let's put people like attention span.
Yeah.
If we ever do an hour, then we split into 2 parts.
Yeah, it's actually true. If I watch anything online, it's mostly 30 minutes.
Even like TV show, you get it like it's an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
A very warm welcome to the AB1 GK podcast. This is episode 3 of series 4. We're still in Iceland, Asmir, and we have another very special guest. Gareth Owen is joining us for this episode. Asmir, we come to the end of our Icelandic trip. How good has the last 2 days been?
Yeah, I think the weekend's been an overall success. I think having come here for the first time, you never quite know what to expect, but the turnout, the kids, the hospitality from the club has been incredible. And yeah, we thought we'd get Gareth Owen, who's the head goalkeeper coach here at Framm Football Club in Iceland, on the podcast and get his story, because it's actually quite an interesting story. Yeah. And we wanted to get you on, Gareth. So first and foremost, thanks for having us here in Iceland. Yeah. It's been an amazing weekend. I think the appetite for goalkeeping, you can see, has been incredible. But how did you get to Iceland? Tell us your journey a little bit.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. It was actually through COVID. I had a phone call off a good friend of mine now called Chris Brazell. He works at an old club. And I worked at Chelsea Football Club in the foundation in the international department. And there was a friend of mine called Ryan who worked with Chris. And we got on a Zoom call. And he asked me to come over to Iceland as an assistant and goalkeeping coach. And I thought, why not go to Iceland and in the snow, in the cold, and gain a fantastic experience working in first team football. And I think it's actually one of the best things I've ever done, because the people I've met, the experiences I've had, like, it's definitely grown me as a person, as a coach. And yeah, I've really fallen in love with Iceland.
It's beautiful place, Iceland. Brilliant football club you're based at as well here.
Yeah, like Framm Football Club is one of the biggest in the country. And I've been here now for 6 months, I think. And it's the people around here are fantastic. They're so respectful, and even the players, from the volunteers to the staff, like you've kind of seen it this weekend. I feel like everyone's very welcoming, and yeah, I can't thank the club enough for obviously hosting the academy, but also just for making my life a lot easier as well.
Gareth, so you obviously came to Iceland. You went to Grota first.
Yeah, Grota. Yeah.
Now you're Framm. What's the standard of football goalkeeping like here? I mean, we've come here firsthand. Obviously, I've played against Iceland. I know it's like it's actually much better level than people think. Yeah. But come here, you see the facilities. You know, it's actually a really good level. But I mean, in terms of your experience and thoughts, how is this infrastructure here, and what's the level like in Iceland?
I think it's hard to say, because I think on a one-off game anything is possible. But over the course of a season, like in the top league, Breiðablik got into the Conference League, which is a really big thing for Icelandic football. But also just from goalkeepers, I feel like it's an underrated market, and I feel like there's a lot of good potential for goalkeepers to go abroad here. You see a lot of goalkeepers going across to Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, and like if you look at Hákon, he was at Grota, my old club. And then he went from Grotto to Elfsborg in Sweden. He did fantastic. And then all of a sudden he's got this move to Brentford, and he's obviously Icelandic number 1. And I think Hákon started as a goalkeeper when he was 15. But he had this natural talent, his physical attributes. And obviously he's a really good person. But it's the same with a lot of other talents in Iceland. Even whether it's in the second division or the top division, there's a lot of talent here that, you know, has the potential to go and play professionally in Denmark. And what division depends on the club and so on. But I feel like it's an underrated market, and I feel like for the young goalkeepers in the country, I just feel like it's a massive opportunity to kind of get them to the next level. And obviously with the Begovic Academy coming here, and obviously with the improvement in the coaching standards and the clubs and the environment, the facilities, I personally feel that there's going to be a lot more goalkeepers and even players going abroad to professional environments.
I couldn't agree more. I think, I'm a massive fan of the Scandinavian markets. I think if you're a young player, or anyone wanting to apply their trade and actually playing at a high level, come here, because, you know, you're going to get great life experience, great people, really good culture, and of course, really good level of football. And I think it's great, especially for young players. Yeah. So, you know, I think the more we can get Scandinavia on the map, especially Iceland, then I think we're all for it. But as we do with a lot of our guests on a lot of our episodes, we want to go way back, Gareth. I mean, when did your love of football or goalkeeping for the matter start?
Yeah, it actually started down my local park. I was a bit of a fat kid, to be completely honest, and I had a stitch one game when the coach told me to go in goal, and I never left, to be completely honest. And then I had a fantastic experiences when I was younger. I was at Swansea City, and then I went across to like Man City, Liverpool, Fulham from a young goalkeeper.
Did you get spotted quite an early age then?
Yeah, I
You obviously had a natural ability.
yeah, I was very lucky. I had an old coach who actually only passed away, Glenn Leatherin, a fantastic man. I went one-to-one training with him down a park, and he played for Leeds United under Billy Bremner and all these great coaches and great players at Leeds United at that time. And he decided to take me up to Leeds, so I went up to Leeds United. I think I was about 11, and I had a fantastic time. And then I was probably I was going around every club, but I think I had a talent at that time, and I went to Leeds, and then I went up to Liverpool. I was at Liverpool for a bit with Tim Dittmar and a few other guys there. Then I went to Fulham with Vic Bettinelli, and obviously Marcus Bettinelli was at the club at the time. I think Mark Schwarzer was actually number one during that period. And then I went up to Man City. This was before Man City just started with the money and the change there with the City Football Group. And then when I was 16, I was playing for Wales in the 16s, 17s and 19s. And then I had the opportunity to sign for Sheffield United after going to a lot of clubs. And it was just an opportunity that I just thought, let's go at it. It was kind of the club that at that particular time that I thought was best for me in my career. And obviously it was good, bad, but again, it kind of made me a better person from leaving there. Then I had an opportunity to join Swansea City as a player. And I spent 2 seasons at Swansea City in the 21s and 18s.
Well, they're a Premier League club as well.
Yeah, they were a Premier League club actually, and again, it's just good experience. Obviously, at the time, I think for any young goalkeeper, you think it's going to last forever, but you actually realise you got to make the most of every opportunity you have. But the experiences and even the coaches from all the clubs I was at, it kind of built me, and it kind of made me grow up fast as a young kid, even from little things of, catching the bus on your own or making dinner on your own when you're 13, 14 years old and you're like, all my mates are in school and I'm like, right, I need to go training or whatever.
You make massive sacrifices as a young lad, making your way, don't you, in the game. Asmir talks about it a lot, and a lot of the guests on our podcast talk about it, but you must have made a lot of sacrifices, like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Made a lot of sacrifices. Like, I probably didn't have a normal childhood, and I have to say my mom and dad, even my sister, like, they made a lot of sacrifices. Like, my father's actually blind and he knows nothing about football, so a lot of the time my mum was doing all the driving for myself, driving around the country. It was just, and also I'm staying in digs up in London and all these different things you do as a young footballer trying to make it. But again, it kind of just instilled in me kind of a drive for football and obviously a drive to make it. And I feel like I did well. Obviously, I would have always loved to play professionally and like make my first team appearance, which obviously I didn't do. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't change any of my youth stuff. It was an amazing time. I worked with amazing coaches, amazing players. And then obviously I got injured, and then during that injury, my father at the time said, "Don't do anything else apart from stay in football, because that's all I've done." And then I decided to do my coaching badges, and then during my injury, and then that got me the opportunity at Chelsea Football Club.
What age did you get injured, Gareth? I mean, how did that affect you? I mean, we get a lot of. Yeah. I mean, you probably see it now as a coach. We see it in the game. Setbacks, early age, and obviously sometimes you can overcome them. Listen, bad injuries are bad injuries, no matter what the medical experts say. It might set you back. When did you have your injury? How did that affect you? And obviously you took it almost as a positive in a different way and focused on other things. But, how did that really affect you as a person and I guess as a professional as well?
I wasn't really like an injury-prone player, so it kind of came out of nowhere, and it actually came from a little bit of a finishing session at the end of a training, and it was at Swansea. I did that in, how old was I? I was about, I can't even remember, 19, 20, 21. And then I actually got misdiagnosed, which was probably the worst thing about it, and so I carried on playing with a bad wrist for a long time, and then it finally got fixed and everything else. But then I kind of knew that I couldn't really carry on during the pain and so on. So, but the biggest challenge for me was the identity. Like, from a young age, obviously I kind of named some of the clubs, and even people in my local town and stuff, they always identify you as the footballer. You go for a haircut, how's football? Or, they don't really ask, like, how you doing? I think the biggest challenge for young footballers, especially if you've if you're doing well, if it gets taken from you in a short period of time, the mental toll or even just the adjustment to get into the real world can be tough. I was very lucky. I had really good parents behind me. But if you don't have that kind of good backing, whether it's from parents, teachers, coaches, whatever it is, then it will be difficult. And I see a lot in the game now, and even some players that I kind of knew who probably didn't have that backing. And
support network's massive
Yeah.
for any young footballer or any footballer.
yeah, absolutely. I feel you need to surround yourself with good people, and I feel like if they're not good, you need to probably, in the nicest way, get them to the side. And the best thing that I did was just have a really good. Very luckily, I had a really good family. I had really good friends. And then I actually, funny enough, I'll tell you a funny story. I actually got one point got really sick of football. I actually hated football, and I was doing it. I was like, I'm done with football. I said I'm going to become a travel agent, and I'm going to travel around the world. Until my father told me, you do realise travel agents don't travel, and I was like, that's a good point. So, anyways,
It looks good.
yeah, it looks good, but I was like, maybe that Instagram life is not for me. So, but I kind of did that at Chelsea, from traveling around the world and living around the world. Did Singapore, Thailand, New York, all these different places. But yeah, the best thing I ever did was stay in football, and even the experiences I've had from the youth to being in a professional environment and working with fantastic coaches along the way. It's great that I can kind of give that to the players at Framm and the goalkeepers at Framm, and even hopefully other places, or hopefully I'll be at Framm for a long time. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely made me a better person, but also a better coach.
Get that a lot, Martin. Actually, Gareth touched on a really good point. It's almost like that persona you have within your family or supporting network, people in town. You know, everyone's asking you, if you're not playing, why are you not playing?
Yeah.
Why is he not playing you?
Yeah.
Why are you not on the team?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, well, hold on a minute, I'm just a player, I'm contracted, and they pick the teams, but it starts playing a role in your head.
Yeah.
It becomes a negative.
Yeah.
You start doubting yourself, not wanting to be there, and you think, hold on a minute. You know, you start making bad decisions. And actually that identity you talk about, that reputation within your little circle,
Yeah.
Maybe it's like an ego thing too, but it's there, right? So it's not very easy for players to think, okay, listen, I'm on my journey.
Yeah.
Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My journey is my journey, and I focus on that. So it's advice I would give to a lot of young players coming through. But focus on yourself and don't worry too much about everything else. You know, the noise does affect you. So you've obviously done well in coping with that. And you got your coaching badges. You did them in England.
I actually did them in Wales,
Okay.
because I represented Wales in 16s, 17s, 19s. Obviously, the Welsh pathway was probably the easiest way to go, and obviously, I like the people involved with the Welsh FA. And so I did my UEFA B2C B A license, goalkeeping, and then I'm just about to get onto my A license with the Welsh Association in November. So that'll be a good, again, learning opportunity, good
Andrew
network.
Sparks running it.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe,
Is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah. And
I'll put a word in for you.
I think there might be some other coaches involved as well, and the association again. But I feel like the Welsh FA have done really good of just promoting good Welsh coaches, but also just even other coaches around the country. So yeah, I'm really excited to get onto my A license at the end of the year.
It's a great way, the coaching way. If you want to stay in the game like you've wanted to, you've had a difficult playing career. You've gone on and coaching, and you're a brilliant coach. Got to say, I've watched you this week, and he's an outstanding coach, isn't he?
He's an outstanding coach, and I think the journey is incredible. Tell us a little bit more about your journey with Chelsea and where you've lived, and with the Chelsea Foundation before, and obviously getting into Iceland. I mean, you've lived all over the world.
Yeah. So obviously during that period that I was kind of doing nothing, and I was transitioning from a player to a coach, I basically threw a lot of applications on, and luckily Chelsea came back, and there was a job going as an international coach. And one of the things during that time before COVID was that they had basically different departments and different areas around the world where coaches would go over and coach in the community. You do outfield, goalkeeping, and mostly outfield, and you try and kind of raise the Chelsea brand. And you see a lot of other clubs doing it now. But yeah, I lived in Singapore for a period of time. I lived in Thailand, in Bangkok. I lived in New York. I lived in Greece, Italy, Spain. And I visited even places from Hawaii to even places like Belarus. I never thought I'd end up in Belarus, and some of the experiences and the peoples that you meet, and even just the cultures. And I kind of experiencing that at a young age was fantastic. I was very lucky it happened before COVID. And obviously I'm always one to kind of live abroad and experience new things. So again, when Iceland came, it was kind of like a no-brainer for me. It was kind of, I had to do it, especially working in first team football.
What's your, now with coaching, what's your long-term ambitions Where do you want to take the coaching role that you have now?
The big thing for me is just to work in first team football and get to the highest level possible. Like if Framm is my highest level possible, then I'm happy with that. I don't think there's need to have. I think you need to take things one day at a time. I don't think you need to think about things too much in the future, because you never know what might happen, especially from my I guess career or my past. But again, I just think I need to work hard, see where it gets me, and try and get to the highest level, and keep on pushing myself every day, and hopefully I can get to whatever the highest level is in the future.
You're ambitious. You'll go a very, very long way, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think what's awesome with that is obviously, hopefully we can keep Gareth in goalkeeping as well. We sometimes lose a lot of goalkeeper coaches that want to try the first team, the outfield stuff, and then it becomes all messy, and then it becomes almost a little bit of a vicious circle, and then we lose great goalkeeping people. So the more we can keep, the better in the goalkeeping world. Gareth, just for like our young viewers and listeners and goalkeepers, what people say, well, what do I need to do to get to the professional level? Obviously you're first team goalkeeper coach here from. You're looking, scouting, signing goalkeepers. What do you look for in a goalkeeper as a coach? I mean, what are the intangibles that are important to you as a coach?
Especially in Iceland, I think personality is the biggest one. I think what you deliver to the team in training and games is the most important. I think, let's be honest, every good goalkeeper is a good shot stopper, and there's always little tweaks as a goalkeeper coach you can get out of a player. But I think the biggest thing for goalkeepers, especially working in the first team level, is personality. And I think and that's probably the biggest thing I look for. I think you also need to be a good person off the pitch. I'm not a big fan of big egos. I think when you have a big ego, unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo or something, I don't know him, but I think he's a loud one. But I think more often than not, if I see guys with big egos, I'm not a huge fan of them. I think you need to be humble, and I think you need to work hard. But I also think you need to be a big character in the changing room and have that elite mentality and that kind of big save mentality, or that one moment mentality where you can deliver on the pitch, but also you can give a lot more to the team on and off the pitch rather than just keeping the ball out of the net. So yeah, I'm a big on personality. It doesn't matter what the age is, the ability, just you've got to have a big personality.
What gives you the greatest pleasure being a goalkeeping coach, coaching?
Seeing the goalkeepers improve. I think most goalkeeping coaches would say that, but for me, like the goalkeepers I worked with in Iceland, in my previous club, and even here, I like seeing them improve, and I work hard to deliver the best that I can do for them. But for me, I think the improvement I see in the goalkeepers, like I think in Iceland specifically, you can see a lot of improvement just because there's probably a lack of goalkeeping coaches here in Iceland, and I think it is improving. Like we've had some fantastic coaches on the camp here with Simi and Dejan and Gunnar and so on. But for me, I think the goalkeepers, I think the other thing as well is passion. I think if a player sees your coach passionate about what they're doing, I think it's easy to buy into it. So, for example, if I got my goalkeepers into the room and they see I'm passionate about what I'm doing and I'm delivering the message in a passionate way, they can get on board with it. Where if I'm kind of like, yeah, exactly, and I think and that gets players on board. And I also said to my goalkeepers, like, I'll always put the work in. Like, the minute you question my work ethic, there's no way I'm probably failing. But I'll always put the work. I'm not saying I'm always right, and don't think I'm definitely always. I'm still learning. But the thing is, if I don't find the right answer, what I will do is work with you to find it. And I said, because I haven't got all the knowledge in the world to tell them everything about goalkeeping or even about life. So yeah, I try my hardest at least.
Well, Gareth, I think you've touched on two amazing points which I want to piggyback on. When I talk about nobody knows everything, you're right. Yeah. I mean, we have to together find a solution or work together. And maybe there is one, maybe there isn't. But you look at it, when you talked earlier about personality and character, there's a misconception in the game, or kids coming through, I need to be 195, 2 meters tall, 180. I said, listen, height, sure, it's a thing. Yeah. It can be more important or less important for some people. It's a thing, it's not everything. No. Your ability to shot stop or one-on-ones, everyone sees you how you play, everyone can scout you now, you'll get assessed pretty quickly. Yeah. But the biggest thing people do checks on is your character. Yeah. So I'm sure if Gareth is signing a goalkeeper, he's going to do most of his homework. You can see him play, he'll watch him play, obviously his clips are there to speak for themselves, but they'll probably do most of their homework on character. Yeah. And that's now, what I say for young players, make sure you're good pros, make sure you're doing the right things, honestly, because for me, biggest pleasure is being part of a great group. I mean, goalkeepers over in a smaller group, right? So we're more of an intimate group. Yeah. It's being part of a good group. You know, when I've choose clubs over the last few clubs, it's like, who's the coach? Great guy. Do we get to know each other personally? What's the group? Is the group good? And if that's good, that's worth it. If the group's bad, if there's a couple of egos, bad eggs, things like that, not worth it. It's not worth it. And clubs will not sign you. Clubs will not sign you. You could be the best in your position, best ability, talent, but if character's questionable, it puts you in trouble. So every guys, girls, everyone out there, that's so important. It's one of the biggest things, and I'm glad you backed it up actually, because it is one of the truest things in the game.
Yeah. Why you behave on social media as well.
How you behave on social media, what you put out on social media. I mean, it's massive. How you behave with your teammates. You know, what's he like behind the scenes? What's he like when he's not playing? You know, these are all the questions you ask, because how he lives his life. Because nobody has time, especially in a game today. You know, where patience is
such a ruthless game, Asmir, isn't it?
Such a ruthless game, right? The patience is less. There's never been less patience, has there? So you need to get results. You need to try and do it the right way, and nobody has time for negativity, bad eggs, anything that's going to impact. Because it's hard enough to win games. It's hard enough to get results on the field, 11v11, tactically, outmaneuvering somebody, putting a team out there to play. So I think if you're dealing with these things, you're already behind the 8 ball. So big things for kids coming through. Don't be put off by your height or certain things. That can be some things can be fixed, some things can't. You work on it, but if you have the right attitude, right character, there's usually a place for you in the game. And I think that's a really big lesson for everyone to take away from this.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely massive. But who has been kind of your big influence in your career? I mean, obviously privately or professionally. You know, we touched on it in all the episodes. I've had goalkeeper coaches, my dad, people who've been there, still call today, discuss the game just for a chat or whatever. They follow me. Who's inspired you along the way?
I'd say, to be honest, I say my mum and dad have been the biggest influences on instilling really good character into me. But also from a goalkeeper perspective, there was a coach called Glenn Leatherin. His son actually is named Kyle Leatherin. He's actually Doncaster Rovers first team goalkeeping coach. And I trained with Kyle a little bit when I was younger. But Glenn, again, he was a fantastic man, and he actually only passed away about 2-3 days ago. So it was actually quite recent. But again, he instilled amazing life values into me, and also he taught me everything about goalkeeping, but even from the new stuff to the old school stuff. But again, I worked with fantastic coaches from, you know, Tim Dittmar, Roy Tonks, Jeff Woods, like Wayne Brown. Like there's a lot of good coaches out there. But Glenn, from working with him since I was basically 10, 11 years old, I think he's the only one I can tell who's influenced me the best, basically.
We love that. Yeah, I think your journey has been incredible, Gareth, and thank you for sharing. Well, let's touch on a couple other things here. Obviously, with the World of Football, we're here in the summer of 2024. We have a little tournament out there called the Euros, the European Championships coming up. Obviously, Martin talks a lot about England. Talk about, what are your thoughts on the tournament, England's chances, or what teams or goalkeepers are you looking forward to watching?
Who's your favourites?
I know Wales are not in it.
Yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, Wales are not in it. But I'd say, to be fair, Portugal are kind of like I feel like they're quite underrated. If you look at them on paper, everyone's talking about. Yeah, I feel like France and England are the easy options, but I feel like Portugal's got kind of the underrated option. I like Costa as well for Portugal. I think he's a good goalkeeper. I think it's obviously a lot of good goalkeepers. I feel like Pickford always performs for England, so let's see if he performs. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be an exciting tournament. To be honest, I think I'm going to root for Portugal because that's my bet. But again, good luck to England, but maybe it won't come home. Maybe.
Some brilliant players, some brilliant goalkeepers. We're all really looking forward to watching.
Are we getting back into this "it's coming home" thing?
I'm not into that. Yeah.
No, let's not start.
We spoke about it a lot, and it's tough, and you have to give everyone respect. England haven't won anything since '66, so it's very hard to keep saying it's coming home.
Well, no, it's recent. Obviously, it's happened this weekend at the time of recording. England losing to Iceland, and people knock Iceland, and it's their minnows in football. Fine, okay, about population and everything, but people play. The facilities here, the kids. I mean, the passion for it. There's no one to be underestimated. England's path is going to be brutal in the Euros, and don't get me wrong.
Everybody raises their game to play against in England. I was chatting to a Serbian today, and he was in England's first game against Serbia, and they just raise their game.
Yeah,
of course they will. Right, it's the occasion. It's England, whoever it is. It's not so easy. I mean,
people are looking for moves. People are looking to put themselves in the shop window.
20 years ago, you could predict these things a little bit more. There's no getting away from him. And now, with these days, I look at every game, look at some of the odds, and think, how are they such big favorites? It doesn't work that way anymore. And I think the Euros are going to show that. You're going to show that. Any goalkeepers maybe a little bit under the radar that you're looking forward to watching on such a big stage?
Good question. I haven't really thought about it. I like Costa. I don't watch Costa much. I know I keep mentioning him, but when I have watched him play, I've always liked him. I don't really know anyone. I don't really know obviously you've got all the top goalkeepers playing, but yeah, I think it's just going to be a good. Hopefully, it's a goalkeeper masterclass every game. I'd much prefer that than the goals, to be completely honest. But I think there's going to be a lot of talent, and hopefully it's going to be a really good tournament. It's in Germany, and but I feel like Denmark actually could do something in this tournament as well. There's going to be an outside chance.
England's great.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned a couple of the young goalies like Andre Lunin. Yeah. He's going to give us a big chance, big breakthrough this year with Real Madrid. So maybe he can do some stuff at the Euros.
Touched upon Jordan Pickford. A man that you spent 2 years with at Goodison Park, Everton. You caught up with him last week. Is he in good form? Feeling confident going into the tournament?
Yeah, I'm never too worried about JP.
What's he like as a human to train with day in, day out?
Yeah, he's a good guy. Honestly, he's a good guy. He's a bit of a crazy character, a bit of a box of frogs, but we were a little bit of yin and yang, and we got on and balanced each other out. I think it was perfect. Really good relationship, great guy, good family. Top goalie. Top goalie gets a little bit of doesn't sometimes get the respect he deserves, the recognition. But I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to be super important with some of the changes in front of him. The back four, I think there could be a few injuries, so I think his consistent presence is going to be very important. And the boys in front of to make sure they protect the back four. So, no worry about JP. I think he'll perform as he has done for England over 60 times.
Seen it and done it.
Really, really not too worried about him. So I think he'll do really well. Yeah, for sure. Gareth, so what we'd like to do to finish
great part of the podcast.
Oh, fantastic!
The great part of the podcast. We do 5 random questions.
Interesting.
Okay. So, but nothing too.
It's quick fire.
Well, you can take a little bit on your answers. Don't. There's no time or anything. Okay. And the questions are not that strenuous, are they?
No.
It's going to be 5 random ones.
Okay.
3 for Martin this time, so he's going to get it going. 2 for me. And answer whatever comes first to your mind.
Okay, I'll think about it. I'll try and answer good.
Best striker you faced?
Good question. Wilfred Boney.
Good answer.
Oh, Wilfred Boney.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's good. Good player. Favorite player growing up?
Player or goalkeeper?
Either or both. Anything.
Alan Shearer.
Okay, goalkeeper then. Go on.
Goalkeeper, Shea Given. I used to love Shea Given.
Yeah, Shea Given was a brilliant goalkeeper. Favourite ground that you've played at?
I would say the Liberty Stadium, the Swansea Stadium.
I went down there last season. It's a great stadium, actually. It's really nice. Yep. Good atmosphere when it's bouncing.
Shout out to Bramall Lane as well. I like Bramall Lane in Sheffield United. Bramall Lane's good. Yeah.
Bramall Lane, I've never been, but I need to go there. It's on the hit list.
Yeah. Do you know what? Speaking about, I've never played there.
Really?
Never been.
Oh, really?
Never been. Yeah. At Liberty, we had a good result there this year as well.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, so did we. We went 21 games unbeaten.
Well done to Liberty. Favorite team growing up?
Manchester United. I'm a big Man United fan.
I'll finish it off. There's a favourite all-time goalkeeper.
Has to be Peter Schmeichel. Always Peter Schmeichel. He's the guy that I used to watch videos of sometimes before games. And I remember as a young kid, I always used to love watching Peter Schmeichel videos, especially that in the 90s when he was at Manchester United.
Nice. Perfect.
Can't argue too much Peter Schmeichel, can we? No, well, listen, Gareth, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having us here in Iceland. Our trip here sadly is coming to an end. Yeah. Sadly coming to an end. So we want.
Where can people find you? That's a good thing for us to chat on here. I'll put it in the description notes, the show notes. Where can people find you and learn a bit more about what you guys do?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter and all the social networks. Actually, I like my social media. So yeah, I'm on all of them. So I can send it to you, Coach Gareth Owen, and yeah, more than welcome to follow me.
Make sure you go give him a follow because he's absolutely superb. Loads of good knowledge, and there's a good story happening here as well. So I'll be following you, whatever happens.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's a great guy. You know, has hosted us really well, knows his stuff. So follow him everywhere on social media, guys. So Gareth, thank you.
Thank you.
But to all of our listeners and followers, as always, make sure you watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, listen to us on Amazon. Have I missed anything?
Yeah, drop us a review,
Drop
and
us a
and we've
review.
got a special podcast code to save some money on some goalkeeper gloves.
Yeah,
Goalkeeper
goalkeeper gloves. Make sure you guys use pod30 on ab1gk.com. We're also, Gareth, on all social media platforms. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, where Martin's king.
Yeah,
He loves it. We are, where else are we? On X, Twitter, all that kind of stuff.
We're everywhere, and the handle at AB1GK is consistent across the board.
Yeah, listen, follow us, AB1GK, ABGK Academies. Or obviously, I'm on socials. Follow me there if you want to. So yeah, listen, thank you for listening. Review us, click, subscribe, everything. We love the support. Season 4 is well underway of this podcast, and we're looking forward to the next few episodes, Martin, aren't we?
Thank you, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant, man. Thank you.
Thanks,
That's
guys.
good. Just try and keep my eyes up to that. My eyes are really sore. Yeah, 31.